Just like the show, this frame is a little dark. But also just like what the show is based off of, it's not for everyone, but I kind of feel like it should be. I don't know what to say because I didn't write anything. It's been a while. Really quick, I forgot to say that there's gonna be spoilers in this, so sorry for that interruption. Going back now. This is gonna be my first video review, so I'm just gonna sit down and just talk about the show because I feel like that's what I'm just gonna do. I think I'm just gonna sit down and just talk about the show. So let's discuss. Let's talk, and hopefully it won't take forever. Weeds! Oh man! So the show stars Mary-Louise Parker, who is in my second favorite movie, Fried Green Tomatoes, and when I saw that they were in there, I was like, ah! What do I say about Weeds? Okay, so basically, think about it like this. Weeds is about Nancy Botwin, whose husband died of a heart attack, and they lived this lavish life, and and she needs to figure out what to do to now provide for her two children, because they live in this like super, super expensive neighborhood, in this mansion, this just, again, lavished lifestyle. And she's like, what am I gonna do? So she turns to selling pot, and thus kicks off the next 8 years worth of content. What can I say? I mean, yeah, Weeds has a slightly messed up sense of humor, but like, it's still funny. My humor is a wide range, so like I can find humor in so many things, but this show did really well. If you haven't seen my timeline review, whether that's gonna go up before or after this, I don't know, but I talked about how to sell drugs online fast and how that show teaches you all of everything that you need to know about drugs, and the fact that like it makes you be like, ooh, I never want to do that. This show kind of makes you do the same in terms of selling weed. You know, you're just like, ooh, I never want to sell weed. Not that I ever thought about it. Now I really don't. Because again, everything that like Nancy goes through and like had to drag her family through, it's a lot. It's a lot. Hold on, I need to do this all. Okay, I'm back. Everything that Nancy Botwin goes through in this show and drags Silas and Shane, her kids, and subsequently Andy. Love Andy. Freaking Doug. I love Doug. Just the way that Doug handles his character is just, I don't know, just the way he just lives and exists and speaks and just exists and lives his life is I know it's gonna sound awful because he is an awful human being, but like, huh. Seasons 1 through 5 were really, really good. Like, very solid, very phenomenal. And just, again, it was just one of the things where like, well, I kept watching the show and I kept being like, well, you know, when is it gonna end? Because like, just, I think the show is really good, but I think it crosses the line sometimes. We are punishing our characters too much, you know, because I think it's just, for example, finally, Silas makes his own weed, like many times, and like the same things happen. He makes the same mistake, trusts someone, and it gets stolen, or it gets got away, or like some stupid crap happens, or he makes some dumb mistake, and it's just like, can you learn? Or like, I don't know. I was annoyed. There were moments where I just like put it down because I was just like, I just want to do this right now. Just because like they go through so much. They really do go through so much. Season 6, the family relocates to, I think they go to like Seattle, and they just go to a bunch of other places. Celia's never heard from again. She's out doing her own thing. She's still alive. And I think she's gonna come back to the sequel show, which I'm so excited. Weeds 4.20, or 4.20, I guess. I hated and loved Celia. I am excited if she comes back for the sequel show, Weeds 4.20, which, again, there's very little knowledge, you know, in the know about, you know, that show, other than that it's set 10 years later. It is definitely happening. Mary-Louise Parker's coming back. We think Elizabeth Perkins, who played Celia Hodes, is gonna come back. I kind of hope everyone comes back. And they left the show open, and you know, for like us to go, because I think the thing with Weeds is that it's a very grounded show. Things that happen in the show can very much happen. It really is not without these shows. Like, I mean, honestly, this season seemed a little bit more quiet without Celia. And honestly, everything, I think without Celia, without her being there to be able to break away from the Botwin family, I think that's what really harmed seasons 6, 7, and 8, especially 6, because we just were all concentrating on just them. And yeah, we wrote to give them more story. Season 6 was just so boastful, and I think it's a very unanimous that season 6 is not their best season. But season 7 and 8 get a lot better when they add Jill and her family, and it's just one of those moments where I personally was like, I just finish, please. I just want you to finish. And it's not because it was bad, it's because like I wanted certain things to happen with certain characters, and I was positive that's where they were gonna go, and I'm just like stop with this shenanigans, you're just lying to everybody. And I was like, please just finish and make me happy, that's all I want. And the show did finish, but it didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go, which not everyone is gonna get their ideal happy ending or our ideal happy ending for everyone, you know? Like, that's why I like La La Land as my favorite movie. All of this can happen, and has, I'm pretty sure has, which is terrifying. That's why it's a good show. It's funny and it's informative. Why, before we talk about the finale, because I kind of want to talk about the finale at the very end, let's talk about performances. Performances, phenomenal. Now let's talk about, no, honestly, like each character is their own character. That's what I like about the show. Each character is their own. Silas and Helia, they're the same, but like, you know, Helia, she's like years worth, like she's older, she has more experience and everything. And then Silas is like her as a younger person, you know? So you can see like, oh, okay, there's a reason why they get along. All these characters, all did so well. They brought their A game when they needed to, which was every time they were on screen, and they did it. So why do I say that it's not for everyone and that I think it should be? This show is definitely a mature show. Like MA-17 does not cut it, you know, like there is a lot of doing it. And I understand if you're not one to just watch someone do in a show. If it's a lot, I'm like, all right, just move on, please. If there's no purpose, right? There's a lot of times they're just gratuitous just cause. Weeds doesn't do that. Anytime there is something, it's for a reason. Well, most times it's for a reason. It's for mostly character development, and a lot of times talking happens through it that I think they did this on purpose. You know, they're just like, oh, we want to have sex on the show. Oh, we don't want people to like skip the sex. All right, let's put plot points in the sex. And there's a lot of stuff that happens. But then other than that, it's a show about marijuana. The title is Weeds. And here's the issue, right? There's gonna be stoners who are gonna love the show. There are gonna be stoners who hate the show. There's gonna be people who don't smoke who love the show. And there's gonna be people who don't smoke and hate the show. You're gonna get all the types. That's why I'm like, it's not for everybody. I think it should be, because it does bring up a really good, what is it? Not idea, but like it really does open up one's mind, one's opinions about weed. Cause you know, like at the time when this is, you know, this was 2005 through 2012. Weed wasn't legal in a lot of states. Now it is, at least medically, some recreationally. And so like now weed is gonna take place like 10 years after that, like in a world where like weed is illegal, it is a hot commodity in a ton of states. And the fact that there's just like a bunch of like legal versions of weed. So like if you're not a medical patient or you don't want to do the illegal whatever, you just can do the legal substances, which is not as whatever. We're not here to talk about that. We're just here to talk about the show. The fact that I think that people should watch this show with that open mindset, you know, like maybe skip whatever you need to skip, but with that open mindset of maybe, because like, okay, so here's one of the things that happens in the show. Like Silas has his own dispensary. I didn't catch it if it was only for medical people or for anybody. I don't really know how any of that stuff works, but like I think they're gonna play with that idea. Like, you know, like weed is just dispensed. Sure, you had to have a medical card, or depending on where you are, you had to have a medical card, but like it could just be dispensed just like that. And you know, it's a thing that's becoming more and more normal. It's something that's becoming a normality, which in my opinion is perfectly fine. Again, not everyone is going to think that. I'm also going to throw out the fact that I am a religious person, but like, you know, these things can happen. These things can mix. And I think that everyone should watch this and have an more open mind about literal life. And that's why I like this show, because it's done really well. It's written really well. It is funny. It's grounded. It's real life. These people are struggling to make ends meet. And it's just one of those things where you're like, you know what? Same, girl. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, you can relate to her. You can relate to all of it. But it's crazy. She chose to sell weed. She chose to go the illegal route. You know, where me, I have chosen to find a job. There was an interview with Elizabeth Perkins, and she said, you know, it never occurred to Nancy, and it will never occur to people like Nancy, like Celia, that they can just downsize. In my head, it's logical. Downsize, cut things out, stop paying for things you don't need, you know, like stop going out to eat as much, you know, stop spending money. For Nancy and for Celia, people like her, who are super rich and they want that, they need that, which they don't. I may not do what these characters do, but it's fun to watch them do it because it's not something I would do, you know? It's just one of those things, like, you know, thrust yourself into a world where, like, you know, like, I don't want to sell drugs, but I am curious about what that may look like, so watch How to Sell Drugs Online Fast, and then you'll be cured, you know, just one of those things. Like, you know, it's like, these shows are fine. They're not illegal to watch. And I feel like a lot of people treat these shows as like, oh, it's about weeds. It's about weed. I can't watch it. You can, or you can't. It's just it's up to you. It's up to you. What do I give this show? I give this show a solid 9 out of 5. I know a lot of my shows are 9 out of 5s, but would I give this a 10 out of 10? I don't know if I would give this a 10 out of 10. Like, only certain things got 10 out of 10, was Schitt's Creek and, like, I Love Lucy. I would have to think about what else gets a 10 out of 10. Maybe even I think actually Modern Family gets a 10 out of 10. But, like, other than that, I think, like, this show gets a solid 9.5, 9.75 out of 10. It's so close. It's so close. It's a great show. I don't think I've ever seen anybody, like, so dedicated to acting like Mary-Louise Parker, like, to her job. To her job. She knows it's her job, but she knows it's her passion. But she knows it's her job. She knows, she's like, if I don't do well, I'm not gonna have a paycheck. I want to work with. She is dethroned, kind of. She is sharing the throne with Emma Stone. I want to work with Mary-Louise Parker. So the finale. Let's talk about the finale and let's end this video. The finale wasn't bad. It was very slow. Okay, season 8 I think would be probably the best one because they wrap everything so beautifully. Beautifully. That's why I'm just like, season 8 is so good. The finale episode broke my heart just because, again, I was like, I want certain things to happen for certain characters, and it didn't. But it's fine because the show is fine, and it just ended kind of just mellow, kind of just chill, which is fine. I'm really curious. Where do you think it's gonna go? Like, because for me, the finale is why I'm like the show needs to include everyone, because where does Shane go? Like, Shane had to, like, check himself into rehab, right? Nancy sends, you know, Stevie off to boarding school. So now what is she gonna do? You know, her whole thing in the whole show was dependence on people, even though she was the one providing, right? In her mind, she needed to be dependent on Judah, her husband. She needed to be dependent on Andy. She needed to be dependent on, like, all of these different male figures that, like, every time she married someone, they die. Not because of her, but, like, they just, well, one of them was, but, like, incidentally, at the very end, she's like, you know, I'm gonna finally focus on me. And that's it, and she does, and it's great. You know, and then there's Silas with Megan. Megan is a naughty word. I hate her. There's no reason, honestly, there was no reason to make her so mean and so jerk-like toward Nancy, but whatever. Doug and his cult. Freaking Doug, you know, Celia, I want to know about Celia, Andy and his restaurant. It's good. And I really do hope that because of that finale, then the sequel show needs to at least answer questions of where are these characters at. If they don't appear in the show, that's fine. No, but, like, at least, if they're not the main characters, the main cast of the show, that's fine. But, like, make them appear and close their stories. By the way, Alexander Gould, who plays Shane, he was the voice of Nemo. And Celia Hodes, she was the voice of Nemo's mom. This is before they were on the show. That's pretty freaking cool. So, all right, I'm going to go. I'm gonna go because I have so much to do. So I'll see you guys. My social media links are in the description below. Please give them a follow. You'll be able to keep up in touch with me in my life, but also you're gonna get updates on my short film, which is now in pre-production. So I'm super excited. I'll see you guys next time. You've just been Montified.